everyone, good morning. This is Idlehands, and I'm here to kind of guide you guys a little bit on tanking. Um, just to define, tanking is in Ragnarok Online. It's the process of holding the boss while your teammates kills it. So based on the process itself, it's very important that your character has high survivability, and it's also important that you are able to hold the boss in place. Otherwise, you would just run around and kill all of your teammates. So um, let's get started. There are a couple of things that you guys need to know about tanking. First is stats. When you tank, unless your character is really overpowered already, it's important that you have a decent amount of vitality or vit. Um, Currently, I am not yet at rank C, so I don't have the Emir's book yet. So I have to kind of make a build that allows me to farm and tank at the same time. So as you can see here, I'm level 88. The current HP that I have is 25,000. This is, to be honest, this is more than enough to get you through at least Endless Tower floor 90. My def is about 271 with the current gears I'm wearing. That's unbuffed. This could probably go about to 300, 400 with the current gears that I have if I eat any buffs or if I have a high priest with me. My MDef is just 21. You shouldn't really be bothered about MDef, especially if you're a Lord Knight and you want to tank. MDef has very minimal addition to your tanking capabilities. So in terms of skill, like what I told you, I needed to make a build that would allow me to farm, grind, and do some mini boss hunts, while at the same time be able to tank whenever we do weekly endless tower runs. So, so I have 99 strength and 73 base vit. All the others for me are useless right now. You don't need agi because I use bash to grind, and that's not affected by agi or attack speed. I don't put any int. I don't need int for SP regen because um, there's cooking foods and there's a warm and a hot dish, so that can virtually give you unlimited SP. Dex, I don't need it. I will probably put in some once I become Rune Knight. But so far, in terms of grinding, in terms of mini boss hunts, even zero base Dex will not, it will not make you miss. You will always, be able to hit the enemies. Unless you're fighting assassins or stalkers in PvP, you don't really need to put any Dex. Luck, that's kind of self-explanatory. I don't have any use for crit. Although, in the past I've tried to experiment about putting in some luck when tanking, and that's mainly because luck also increases your resistance to abnormal status, which was kind of useless because as you progress, you would gain a skill through your runes that's called Rage of Berserk. So that will remove certain negative buffs or status effects, and will, if you've leveled it up, if you've got all the runes associated with it, it will also make you immune to some of them right after using it. Okay, so that's for stats. Skills wise, most important really is taunt. Okay, the other skills I have it because, like what I said, I'm using this to farm as well. But the most important part is taunt. You need to have it at level 10. At level 10, the this skill will allow you to hold the boss in place, keeping the aggro towards you, at the expense of increasing their attack. Okay. The skill description says it also decreases def, but I have no way to check if the monster's def is really going down. At least the boss. So Yep, there are also runes available that will allow you to improve taunt. There are two types of runes. I haven't gotten all of them yet. The first one decreases the attack bonus it gives to your enemies. There are about five of them, so it decreases the attack bonus by 25%, of 20%. And then there's one that adds range to taunt. Um, I really suggest you get that. If you're tanking, you should get that. Adding range to taunt will allow you to better manage the boss. Even if they start switching to your teammates, a wider range of taunt could take back the aggro without you having to move. Endure, you can get it to level 10. For a full tank build, you probably need to get this to level 10. It gives you 100 MDef, and it cancels the knock. I mean, cancels the knockback animation whenever you get hit. There's also a rune associated with this, which I won't be discussing since I barely use it. And then you need to get Heart of Steel. So Heart of Steel allows you to take 90% less damage for 5 seconds. It is very, very useful. This one could spell the difference between your party getting wiped out and you guys surviving. So don't use this every time it goes on cooldown. Okay? Only use this when you see that you're nearing towards 25% life and your priest heal can't keep up. Okay, mostly I use this when the boss goes into rage mode, and I'm at a very low life reserve. And then you need to get one hand quicken, not because you're going to use it, but because it's a prerequisite to a certain skill. Also, make sure you have Peko Peko. The additional move speed given by Peko Peko will allow you to catch up with the boss in case it switches target. And I don't know if you've tried fighting Doppel already, but Doppelganger when in rage is crazy fast. If your device isn't a high-end device and you have a lot of frame skips, it almost seems like he's teleporting from one character to another. And then make sure you get Lord's Aura level 10. There's one of the party buffs that's very important if you're a tank. You see, when you're tanking, the efficiency really relies on your ability to survive and your team's ability to kill the boss faster. Okay? So you see, these bosses, they're not that strong, but eventually, as the fight drags on, you guys get tired, you guys get frustrated, and people just start slacking off. Likewise, when you're hunting field MVPs, the longer the fight drags on, then the higher the chances are of people stealing the MVP. And then next, and I've always said this to everyone, this is the most overpowered broken skill in the game, parry. Okay, say it's broken because it's just so unreasonably strong. Okay, there's a counter skill to this. I mean, there's an equivalent skill to this in the Paladin skill tree, but it comes nowhere near parry. Parry is just the most overpowered defensive skill in the swordsman class. This skill gives you 50% chance to get 0 damage out of any attack. Okay, with the exception of fixed damage attacks like burn life and poison, but other than that, every physical attack, every magical attack has a 50% of dealing 0 damage to you. Okay, now this is better than auto guard because auto guard would have a flinch animation every time you get hit. Now what happens is if the boss summons the monsters and you get mobbed by those monsters, then that's it. You can't move. For parry, it doesn't even matter. You can move as freely as a bird. Again, this is the most important skill, one of the most important skills, together with taunt when you're tanking MVPs. And that's it. The others are more like damage skills. Next off, you really have to pay attention to your gears. For me, and these are starter gears. Okay, this isn't how it will look like. A couple of months down the game, but with this, and if you can see, these are pretty cheap gears so far. Um, you should be able to tank at least Orc Lord. Okay, Orc Hero, every demi-human, um, demi-human boss should be tankable using this setup. Um, and I'm gonna focus specifically on Orc Hero and Orc Lord, um, because a lot of people are hunting them in Endless Tower right now. Don't mind the weapon. The weapon is a Negan. That's what I use for farming and mini boss hunting. The headgear is also one I got from the free gacha, so don't mind that. What you have to pay attention to is the card that's inserted. That's a Marduk card. It makes you immune to the silence effect, meaning whenever the MVP casts Lex Divina, you won't get silence. Now that's important because otherwise you would have to pay attention to your status screen, and then press Panacea every time you get silence, which is very costly. Also, sometimes in the heat of the moment, like when you're tanking and the boss starts summoning mobs, then you probably won't be able to take a look at your status icons. So get Marduk card. Okay, this is one of the staple cards you need. Next is the Goblin Leader Mask. Goblin Leader Mask, reduces damage from demi-human monsters by 30%. Enough said. That's it, 30%. It doesn't matter if it reduces your death by 30. The 30%, the reduction from demi-human is more than worth it. This is also another gacha item I got from the free coupons. Don't mind this. I use this for grinding. But if you do have enough Seni, I recommend you get this. So Spike Scarf. Spike Scarves can only be crafted by Assassin class. Okay, so you can't craft this as a knight. You have to buy this from exchange. This mask gives you 5 def, 2 vit points, and then it also gives you a reduction to demi-human race by 5% and additional damage to demi-human by 5%. Another headgear you may want to aim for if you will do a lot of PvP and tanking for MVPs is Feather Bonnet. In a second, let me find it. Here, this one. Feather Beret, sorry. This one gives 10 vit, MDEF 5, and 10% damage from demi-human race. So, this one you can get from Griffin. The recipe is from Griffin. You can craft this via these materials. Okay, going back to gears. For the backpack, I've just gotten the Marchosius bag from PvP. From tail, the Marchosius tail. It doesn't matter what you put in here. There are very few damage reduction gears for tail and bag. And even if you don't have them, it doesn't really matter. Accessories, I do have Saint Rings. That's what I use right now. They don't really add to tanking, but this is what I have, and I don't want to spend additional Zenny into getting any gears. However, if you do have Staunch Ring, that's ideal. It gives you additional healing bonus, or Necklace. Those would do. For the shoes, I've gotten Rune Shoes, and the sole purpose of this is to increase the amount of heal that I get. So as you can see, you get about 20% healing effect. You can upgrade this to Rune Boots, although it's very costly. I don't recommend it at this point in the game. So you can get this to just this 20%. That should be more than enough. Should you have additional funding, you could slot this and put Ferrous card for additional 10% HP. And you can also get this to tier 3 to get 6% more on the healing bonus. Next is Staunch Cape. Now, there's an ongoing argument on whether it's better to use Staunch Cape or Pauldron, because Pauldron gives a humongous amount of def, while Staunch Cape gives low def but minus 10% neutral damage taken. I've used both of them in the China server, and I'd go with Staunch Cape every single time. Okay, although this is not the garment I would use for my final build, but for now, this is the one that's more feasible to be used when tanking, which I will explain later. Let me skip over to shield. This is the most ideal shield when fighting MVPs that are physical and large in size. Okay, and I'll get to it later, but it's important that you know the attributes of the MVPs. Stone Buckler gives 51 def, and I don't even mind if it gives 0 def. But the most important part here is it reduces the damage from large size monsters by 25%. Now, large damage modifier, or sorry, size damage modifiers only works on physical attacks, not magic. That's why when you're fighting Dark Lord or any large monsters that's mainly a spellcaster, Stone Buckler is not ideal because it will not help. Anyways, this one reduces every single attack or every single physical attack made by the MVP by 25%, flat out. Okay, this is expensive right now in the Seiya server because only a few people are able to hunt Detail or Detar, the dragon, but you should get this. It's totally worth it. Next up is for the armor, and if you notice, I'm just using an NPC armor. This is one that is dropped at Minorus. It has 75 def, which is pretty decent, and it's slotted. I've picked this over, a slotted craftable armor because this is more cost efficient. Okay, I didn't have to spend anything on this. At the early stages of the game, slotting a Goibni armor is probably around 5 million, which is totally not worth it. Of course, you can argue that you get more VIT, you get more HP, but at this point, that's just not worth it. Okay, you can eventually slot it once it goes down to about 400 seni each or 500 seni per piece. But so far, this gets me through Endless Tower 90 without any problems. Okay, so this is setup. The card that I have here is Tharafrog card, so this actually gives me another 30% of demi-human damage reduction. So if you count all that I have, it's about 60% already. Okay, 60% racial reduction minus 25% from the size modifier reduction, and then I've got another 10% on the element reduction. Okay, and that's where I move in now. You need to understand details about the MVP you're hunting. And for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk about Orc Lord. Okay, now Orc Lord is Earth element. Okay, and this is what you have to understand. The monster element is different from the attack element as well as the skill element. Orc Lord is Earth element, which means he is weak to fire. Okay, his element is Earth, therefore he's weak to fire, and he is strong against Earth attacks. So if your Whisk starts pummeling him with Heaven's Drive, it will barely do any damage because he's Earth element, and Heaven's Drive would probably do 75% less damage on him. However, that'll be a different discussion once you use Meteor Storm or Firebolt, or your sniper starts using Fire Arrow. They would then do about 75% or 100% more damage to Orc Lord. I can't quote the exact percentage because it's a little bit fuzzy in the back end. Okay, you can't expect a flat out increase. So once you've taken a picture of Orc Lord, you should be able to see his details. So his race is demi-human again. I have 60% reduction from demi-human races. He is large, so all of his physical attacks would deal 25% less damage on him. So these things you'd have to consider. Also, aside from it, and I don't know how to show it to you, but you also have to study the skills of the bosses. Now, Orc Lord is kind of easy because his main skills are really Spiral Pierce and Bowling Bash. Those are both neutral skills, so Staunch Cape would help there. Okay, it would cause it to do 10% less damage. Stone Buckler would help as well because he's large. He does physical attacks. That's less than 20. I mean, that's 25% less. And then all of your racial damage reduction. So as you can see, it's really easy. All you have to do is really understand how the MVP behaves, how it all works, and you should be able to kind of tank them. And I know Orc Lord is probably not alive right now. He's always getting his ass kicked every time he spawns. But yeah, I mean you should try with the setup I've mentioned. Um, the most important thing really is getting the enough racial reduction. Um, Once you have enough Zen, you should be able to get at least about 75%, okay? Or no, 79% reduction from demi-human race, which is a lot, okay? If you put in Tharafrog's star card in your shield, you'd also be able to get more. So Orc Lord would be really a walk in the park. And after this part, I'll attach a video here that will show me tanking him in Endless Tower floor 80. Um, so with this setup, you can actually tank 2 Orc Lords simultaneously without dying. Your priest or your wizard can supplement with safety wall, but it's not really that necessary. With this setup, you can tank him. You can tank 2 of Orc Lords and not even die. Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. The guide that I've made, I will probably do a little bit more as the days progress. And if you have any specific requests on certain MVPs, just please let me know in the comment box. It's important that you know which MVP you want to tank because the gear setup and the card setup would be different depending on the MVP. Okay, so again, guys, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in my next video.